Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, with me, Gretta Chamberlain, Yvonne Crayer, Leigh and the Realm of Beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the Realm of Beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Leigh, Yvonne, and myself, with the Realm of Beings, eagerly invite you to join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. I'm Leigh, and I'm here with my co-hostesses, Yvonne, Gretta, and of course, the Realm of Beings. We are so happy that you decided to listen today, and we are also happy to be on Transformation Talk Radio every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 Eastern Time. Thanks for listening. When you hear that term, Realm of Beings, who do you think they are? How do they operate in our lives? Why are they even coming through with these messages now? Do we all receive guidance? How can we learn to use it to flow through our lives with ease? These conversations will help you examine your life and your creation of reality. They will help you to shift your impressions and understand what you're creating in your life and how it shows up. Today on the podcast, we will be talking about this week's quotation, which is, "Fear is a construct to make you believe that you are less than what you are." How can we shift out of fear? What are the mental equivalencies, and how does fear even manifest in our physical bodies? What can we do to overcome and to work through this illusion? Ladies, so today we're talking about fear. Is it just an illusion? I would think that fortunately, us and our listeners are living in a relatively easy, maybe even high comfort lifestyle. So there aren't things that we should actually fear, like this instinct of running from danger. So when we have these fearful thoughts, where are they coming from? What's causing it?
I think, Leigh, I would like to say that fear is a really strong emotion, first of all. And then the second thing that I would like everybody to understand before we begin our whole conversation is that fear is the foundation for other emotions that are related to it, like anxiety, depression, feeling fatigued out. All of that is coming from an extension of fear, because they're basically two emotions: love, fear, joy, happiness, contentment. That all comes out of love. And of course, we've been talking about unconditional love on this podcast, which is a deeper sense of love. But fear is an extreme and a strong emotion that we really work at getting rid of it. And like right now in our global society is functioning within a great deal of fear at this point. So it's a very strong emotion. The other thing is that when you fear something, you really attract that fear to yourself. That's how strong it is. You get what you fear. So that's why you want to start establishing in your life that you don't fear anything. You don't fear lack of money. You don't fear being ill. You don't fear meeting with people that you don't want to be with. You don't have that fear. You eliminate that as much as possible, as much as possible.
Yeah. Sounds like a good plan, but sometimes things don't feel like they're that easy to do for a lot of people, because you just like automatically fall back into that survival, that fear mode. But what you're saying, Greta, makes so much sense to me. I've studied the Course of Miracles, and that's really the substance of it, that there are two choices, fear and love, and everything else is sort of in between, like a gradation of one of those two extremes, or and then there are choices, really. Like, so I think for me, what's helped is if once I almost allow it to accept it into my life, like notice it, like and then embrace it, and like it can actually move through you. And I think anger is a part of fear, and that feeling of anger when you're on the road somewhere and somebody might cut you off and they're angry, so do you have to get angry back at that, so it's a small little example, but yeah, I think that we just have to work at it every day, and not be that magnet, not attract what it is that we really don't want. And part of that is changing our language, to say, instead of what don't I want, more focused on what do I want in my life. I want more money. I'm not afraid of, in that sense of lack, or that being of lack, or whatever it is. So
see, the only thing about that though, Yvonne, is that we have to go back to our childhood, because that's where we learn it from.
mm-hmm.
Most of the challenges that we have, that we're experiencing as adults, are coming from childhood. Because we selected our parents. And when we selected the parents, I'm talking about the biological parents now, because some of us move from our biological parents and move with either other individuals who are going to parent us. But right now I'm talking about the biological. You choose the biological parents. That gives you your foundation of your how. And what is the how? The how is the creation of reality. So you're given the lessons as an energy essence, and it's transferred to you at the stage of being an incarnate. And so you choose all kinds of things to support those lessons in the beginning. And then you are born. You go through the process of going from embryo to baby, and then you're born, and you're living what we call, and I think we discussed it last week or week before last, about epigenetics, mm-hmm. that will take on the experiences of our parents. We take on their DNA. So sometimes our parents are transferring the fear to us. They transfer that fear. You pick it up. It's part of their makeup, especially if the mother was very fearful, or the father even. It doesn't matter. They're going to transfer that to you because that's what you want to experience. Otherwise, you wouldn't have chosen them to be your parents. Because see, there's a choice. Mm-hmm. There's a choice of what parents you're going to use, the biological parents that you're going to use to come in here through. So if they're fear-ridden, then you know that there's a strong possibility that's your lesson when you come out, because we forget what the lessons are.
What happens, Greta and Leigh, if you your parents, like if you choose to like step out of the fear in your life, but your parents are still in that fear, what happens then?
It doesn't have anything. See, you are an individual. Mm-hmm. You are creating your own reality. Mm-hmm. The only thing that the parents are doing, your biological parents, are giving you the foundation that you desired to experience in the first place.
So they can stay wherever they are and you can step out and use those lessons to advance and not have the same reality, the same fear-based existence as they could have imparted to you then.
Correct.
Mhm.
Because it's not so much they imparting the lessons to you as you creating that. Because remember last week, I think we talked about create, support, create. All of that's going on.
That. Yeah, I don't think we dove really that deep on that. So that might be something to like, dive a little deeper into.
Well, see, it's like you and I right now. You and I are dialoguing with each other. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you're creating a reality for yourself inside this dialogue. And I am simultaneously giving you support. Whereas at the same time, I'm creating my reality in this dialogue and you are supporting me. So it's always create, support, create.
And there's things that go on all the time, simultaneously, individually as well as simultaneously.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's why you don't want to, you do, it could be a choice to be angry with somebody or not to be angry with somebody. But if somebody is showing you anger, that's for you to see it. That means that it's something in you. See, we look at the other person. This is your fault.
Yeah, we're always blaming, right?
Right. Because it's easier.
It's easier.
It's easier to do that.
It's way easier to look externally than to look within internally and say, oh, this is my mirror. What am I seeing here?
That's right.
Yeah.
We always want to look outside ourselves because now we've been taught that way. Because remember, one of the lessons that everybody has here is a lesson in separation. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care if you are a billionaire. One of your lessons is separation. It
sounds like a whole other podcast. Maybe we should like put that on the table for.
Oh no, we don't want to table that. We don't want to table that.
No, just
that is
another
the crux
podcast.
Of everything.
No. I disagree, because what is separation?
Fear.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why it fits
right?
with this podcast. Yeah. That's
right.
Fear. I'm going to see myself separate from you. Oh, I'm not like you.
So that's one of the constructs, because I'm trying to bring us back to the quote, which is fear is a construct to make you believe that you are less than what you are. How does that fit in?
Because you see, when you look at somebody else and you perceive them to be less than who you perceive yourself to be, then you've got to realize that what you see in that person is you.
Oh.
You're looking at yourself through the eyes of that person. And that person is supporting you in where you are at. You see. So if you have fears of something, then they're going to show you that fear. It's like I told a story to one of the people I facilitate. In fact, I told him the story this morning, and I know he's listening. So, but I had decided that I was going to fire myself from a job that I had. Because I tell people, you do not get fired. You fire yourself, because nobody can do anything to you. It's impossible, because you're creating your own reality. So I created to get fired from this particular job. And then I eventually wound up teaching, but the teaching wasn't bringing me a lot of money. So my friend said, Gretta, come to the catering company with me, because she was teaching and she chose catering as a second job. Okay. So I said, great, that'll bring me some additional monies. And so there was a cook, because I was the assistant cook. I got hired as an assistant cook. That's why I don't like to cook today. I'm tired of cooking. So this woman, this particular woman, nobody liked to work with this woman. She was the main cook. I mean, they took her as being nasty because they would talk about her. Ooh, so-and-so and so-and-so. I won't call the woman's name, but she said so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. She's terrible. She's awful. I don't like her. So that's all that I'm hearing around me, is that people talking about this particular cook. And oh, I hope I don't get her. Well, I got her. And I know I got her not because I was happy about it. I got it because people around me were telling me how horrible she was, and nobody wanted to work with her. So it instilled in me fear. So I'm going, oh, God, please, please don't give me this woman. You know, I'll take anybody else, but don't give me her. I don't want to be under her. I swear to God, she was the boss for me. Then we had this other job that we had to do. It was for they had built this law library. And so they had I think the library was about 7 floors to it. So how they worked it out, because I worked for 2 major catering companies, okay? So they got huge jobs. So we had to, on each floor, as you walk through to see what the library was like, you had part of the course of the meal. So it was a 7-course meal. All right. And on each floor was a head cook. Okay. So I'm on this job, right? I said, yep. I said, I got 7 cooks. So I know. I said, oh, Lord, please don't put me with this da-da-da-da-da woman. Please do not do that. Please, please. And this is what's going through my brain. I'm going, no, don't do this. And notice I didn't believe in creation of reality then. So I'm saying, don't do this to me, Lord. You see, don't do this to me. You know, so that's the fear of it. Well, she was on the first floor. And on the first floor were the hors d'oeuvres. You see what I'm saying? Then I think the second floor was soup or something like that. And I didn't want to make hors d'oeuvres in the first place because they're so intricate. And I remember I was making those celery boats, and the doggone things would always fall over after I put the cheese in it. You know, it was a big mess. But anyway, I said, don't. So the cooks had an opportunity. We were all together on the first floor, everybody who was going to work this job. The cooks got a chance to choose who they wanted. So who did this person choose? Me.
You.
So I got her again, and I got her again. I know we're getting ready to go on break, but I'm going to finish my story. Jacob's telling me to finish my story. I'm going to finish my story. So, you know, it was like, my God, she said, I want Gretta. Because one thing about it was, get this, I had decided when I first got her, I said, I'm getting along with this woman. I'm getting along with this woman. I don't care what she does with everybody else, but I am getting along with her. You know, I'm getting along with her. So, so she chose me. And I just got along with her every time. But it was the fear of getting her which created me to get her. Mm. The fear of me getting her was stronger than me not getting her. You see what I'm saying? So if you have this emotion here, But up here you have fear. The fear is much stronger than the emotion that's down here. So therefore it overshadows it. It overshadows it. It just overshadows it. So um that's about fear. Fear gives you, if we don't get anything over to anybody today, I think it's important for them to understand that whatever you fear, you're going to get it.
It's like a magnet.
Oh yeah, definitely. It just draws itself right to you. There's fear. Let me get you going. Let me get you going with it. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Greta. And after we come back from the break, I would like to ask one or two questions about that story for clarification. So please stay tuned to Shifting Impressions. When we come back, I will ask Greta my questions and our discussion on fear will continue. Thank you for joining us on Transformation Talk Radio. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. I'm Yvonne, and we're here today with Gretta, Leigh, and the Realm of Beings. And you're listening to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. And we are in the middle of a very lively discussion about fear. And we started the discussion talking about one of the quotes that was downloaded through Gretta, channeled through Gretta from the realm. And the quote is, "Fear is a construct to make you believe that you are less than what you are." So before we went to break, Leigh had a few questions about what Gretta was talking about. So Leigh, why don't you ask away, and we'll see where this segment number 2 goes.
Super. So Gretta, in the beginning of your story, you mentioned that your co-workers had fear of this woman and that they were saying that she was very challenging to work with and this and that. And sometimes in the create support mechanism, and earlier we were also talking about others being the mirror for self. So these people who were gossiping about this woman, that she was so bad to work with and this and that, was that a reflection of them, or was their fear of her creating her supporting that? Sometimes it's like I feel it's a little bit of a chicken and an egg scenario. Who's doing what in the create support in that scenario, and then where does the mirror coming in for those people? Are they actually the difficult ones to work with?
Well, when anybody criticizes anyone, I don't care what the criticism is, it's going to be that is their perception of that person. And I think we talked about perception in one of the other podcasts too, is that perception really is the creation of our reality. Our realities are created by way of our perceptions. So how we perceive someone, we have to be that first. Otherwise, we can't see it in somebody else.
That's
you have
very
to be there.
Key.
See, so those people that talked about the cook, the first cook, some of that, how they were defining her, was inside them. Because that's the only way you can see it. Otherwise, you can't. I had one lady that I facilitated for, and she was worried. I said, what's going on? She said, I can never see anything terrible about somebody else. And she was worried about that. I said, that's a great thing, because that's how you see yourself.
Oh, that is actually wonderful. And definitely food for thought, for sure, because I'm sure this is a new concept for people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how you
So
see somebody is you. You are talking about you because you are the only one that you know.
wow.
See,
Yeah, we're
if you
so
want,
used to blaming and going outside, and everybody, it's like everybody else's fault, like this anger or this fear. It's just, you can see it, but I guess the only way you can really see it, if what I'm understanding is that you have to see it in yourself. You have to really learn that lesson in you before you can go out and blame somebody else for being angry, or see the joy in somebody else. Like that has to be inside of you.
right, because like we said, that your challenges or quote unquote struggles are inside you. The solutions are inside you. But we want to see the challenges outside of ourselves and the solutions outside of ourselves.
Because it's easier, like you said, right? It's
Yeah,
easier.
yeah, it's easier. Nobody wants to look at themselves, let's say, and say, oh, look what I did. But that's where you want to be.
Taking responsibility, circling
Yes,
back to taking full responsibility for whatever is going on at every single moment of
that's
your
correct.
existence.
That's correct.
Not
Because
just today, but your existence.
correct. Because that's one of the components, the main component of creating your own reality.
Mm-hmm.
But see, the beauty of knowing that you create your own reality, or that you have this fear, you can always get rid of it,
Change it,
change it.
accept it.
And
Yes,
that's just in recognition, when we pause and are still enough to stop the mind, the incessant mind processes of thought, to say, wait, I am creating this fear of losing all of my money. But in this present moment, I have everything that I need. What I'm thinking is quote unquote future and not right now. So it's that awareness that these are thoughts.
correct. And you wanted a very important word that you said, Leigh, was now. See, everything is in the now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what gives us the power to change it. We don't have to accept anything. There is no fate. There is no destiny. There isn't. It doesn't exist. Those are illusions for us, and it kind of satisfies a fear, because if I messed up in this lifetime, but I'm going to be reincarnated. So when I'm reincarnated in the future, I can do this again and make it better. And so you're thinking of making it better down the line instead of making it better now.
Right. Make it better right now, because that is your choice. I mean, when you finally get the awareness that you are creating this situation and it's for some reason not pleasing, it's in that second that you have the potential to create something different.
Right. That's right. And that minute or time span, or however you refer to it, Leigh, that's always available to us. It's always available. Now I'm going to use two negatives, and in our language, two negatives make a positive, but I just like it. It's never not. It's never, creation of reality is never not existing. It's existing. I'm putting those two negatives together for emphasis. It is always there. We can always change. Now, somebody's going to say, well, how do you do that? And the one thing that we talk about is displace, replace.
Oh, that's a good tool. I'm glad
Right.
that you brought that up, Greta. I want to hear more about that because in our sessions together, you do talk about that. And I think it's helpful because these concepts are so new to people. They may not be familiar with this. In fact, I find myself sitting here contemplating as we're discussing it, like where have I sort of made these choices or created this or become a magnet for these things. But if we could provide our listeners with some sort of simple tool that they can use on a regular basis that could give them the opportunity to create something in their lives that they truly desire versus attracting the fears that they don't really want in their lives. Like what is a little bit more about that displace, replace tool that we can
Well,
use?
I want to say that that's been around for a long time. It did not originate with me. I know that when I was studying the teachings of Ernest Holmes, that is when I came into displace, replace. So it's been around a long time. But the one thing about it is that what we're teaching now, I call it QD. When I worked for the publishing company, QD meant quick and dirty. So you do a project that you're going to do very quickly and get it out there so it'll make money for the company. So I'm calling this technique of displace, replace, quick and dirty. That means that you watch your thoughts. If there's a thought that comes to you and you say, "Ooh, I don't want that thought," and you recognize it right away. "Oh, I don't want that. I don't want that." So one thing you do, and I think we said it once before, is I release that. You get rid of it. I don't want that anymore. I'm letting that go. I don't need it anymore. It's not providing me with what I want to experience. So you get rid of it. So that's what you really literally either say to yourself or you can say it out loud. I release that. You can release anything. You can release it. Like, let's say there's somebody that forever is bothering you or forever getting on your nerves. Okay. So one thing you can say is, I release the emotional attachment to that person, because you're attached, because you're giving that person so much of yourself, so much. You talk about that person, you think about that person's getting on my nerves. I can't stand that person. I don't care who the person is.
I feel like it's also in your body too. Like when you, like for this example, like when you're thinking and talking and this person is bothering you, sometimes your stomach starts to churn. So like, it's like on every level. Like, I think a good way to remember that is sort of pay attention to also what's going on in your body. So like, besides the thought and the feeling and the space they're taking up, consider like, like what's going on my body. I also want to release that too. Like sometimes people get a tension in their neck or, their heart starts to palpitate, something like that. So yeah, I think that's a really good way to help people.
But see, there's a second part to that,
Okay.
Yvonne. You can't just release it, because if you don't add this second part to it, what does it do? It comes right back.
Okay.
So, and it might be that you might have to displace it several times before it stops coming back.
Yeah,
but the part that stops it from coming back, as soon as you say, I release so-and-so, or I release the emotional attachments that I have to this or to this person, then right away you say, I love myself unconditionally. See, that's the replace. See, the whole thing is displace, replace. The replace is, I love myself unconditionally.
So you're filling up the whatever you're getting rid of or displacing, you're filling it back up with unconditional love
of self.
making the space wherever it is, whether it's in your thoughts, your emotions, your body, you're filling that space. You're putting unconditional love of self in that space.
Right. Because it's always unconditional love of self.
Mm-hmm.
Always. In fact, any challenges that we're going through, what is the basic thing that we can use to rid ourselves of the challenges is to love ourselves more and more and more and more. That is one of the lessons. Remember,
Big lesson.
right,
Everything else is
right, right.
And
Because
when
we
we do
said two
that,
lessons. Separation is one of them. Love of self is the other one. Now, somebody once told me, well, that's selfish. I said, no, that's not selfish. You have to love yourself. Otherwise, if you don't, look at what you're going to create.
I mean, that is so powerful, Greta, right? What all those, that blame that we put onto others, if we can transmute that into self-love, I mean, that's what we will see in everyone else, because it will no longer be within us. And that's wonderful. True statement. Did I make an error of ways there? Because I think that's what we're aiming for.
That's right. The big thing for us is love of self, because people are always asking me, what I want to find out my purpose. And I tell them, I said, your purpose is not to be the president of the United States. It's not to be a millionaire. It's not to be a prostitute. It's not to be a serial killer. It's not to be homeless. It's not to be a teacher. It's not to be a priest. What it is to love self. That is the purpose through all of this that we are experiencing, is love of self. Because when you love yourself, you're going to be supported in that. If something is tragically happening to you, if the fear is taking over, that means you don't love you. That's what fear does. It takes you out. And I think the quote was saying that it takes you out of being your true self. It makes you feel that you are less. It's like fear of taking a test. What is that? I don't think I can do it. Fear of driving or learning to drive. What is that? I don't think I can do it. Fear of applying for a job that you really want, but you don't think you can do it. So fear is keeping you from that. So the thing also is to learn who you truly are, and you have total control over your lives, total control. Nobody can manipulate you. See, that's another false belief. And I guess we'll talk about that later, but manipulation is under fear.
Yes.
So in that case, it's appropriate for this podcast. Nobody can manipulate anybody. Some people think, well, I can manipulate these people to do whatever I want them to do. No, you can't. What's happening is the people are giving you permission and they're supporting you in whatever you want, but you cannot ever manipulate anybody. I don't care who they are. It's impossible.
Greta, you just shared some really powerful information with us. We are going to go to our break right now and give you time to prepare. So when we come back from break, we will have a direct link to the realm of beings, and they will share with us more about how we can overcome this construct of fear. So stay with us. Thank you for listening to Shifting Impressions. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Shifting Impressions. I'm Leigh, and I'm here with Yvonne and Gretta. And if you've listened to any of our other podcasts, you know we sort of close the show with some direct information from the realm of beings through Gretta. So this week, let's see what they have to share about fear. Realm, are you present?
Yes, I'm here
Welcome.
today. I'm here. What
So
is it, Leigh? What is it now?
today on the podcast, we were talking about fear, and fear is a construct to make you believe that you are less than what you are. Do you have anything to share with the listeners today about fear that we create, and how we can change that and transmute that out of our lives?
You know, with some people, fear becomes a bedfellow. They lay down in the bed with it. They go to sleep with it. And that fear can manifest itself in what we or you call depression. You see, illnesses. You didn't talk about the illnesses.
Mm.
No,
The
we
physical illnesses that you can get through fear. Your body shows you what's going on in the unconscious. Your body shows you that.
How does fear manifest in our human forms?
Well, one thing, it can manifest by anger. It has such tributaries. It has tributaries and extensions of itself. It has all these little things called fear, anger. I can't do it. Nobody loves me. I'm lonely. I can't do that. I don't have abilities like other people do. And it goes on and on and on. So
Right.
we would like people to start to go in the opposite direction, and that is to believe in themselves. That is their true nature, is love of self. If you don't love yourself, if you're in an experience where that is not being shown, you are not being shown love, then you are in fear. And you are manifesting the tributaries of fear. Does that work for you, Leigh?
Yes. Yvonne, do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
That's all right. That's all right. I can keep going.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if you, both of you, had anything else that you wanted to say.
If we're in a state of unawareness where we are not paying attention to our thoughts and what they are creating, can you share with our listeners, when we do not listen, how it actually, like, what does it make in our physical body? Where does this anger show up, or what starts happening to the physical when we're not cognizant of our thoughts?
Oh, you can come down with what is called cancer. You can come down with an organ inside your body going bizarre or berserk, because it wants all the cells. See, the cells inside your body work for you. They're working for you. They're showing you, okay, you're angry. They're showing you, if you love yourself, because if you stay in a constant state of joy, which is really a challenge for you all to stay in, That's what we've observed, but that's okay because you chose this journey called humanity. You chose to come into this space, so it's okay. Everything is for your growth, so don't be discouraged. See, discouraged is fear. I'm discouraged. I can't accomplish this. Yes, you can. Change it.
A lot of people blame depression. Oh, I'm depressed because it's a rainy day out, or I'm depressed because I lost my job, or I'm depressed because of this. Like, you know, can you speak to us like a little bit more about like why do we do that?
Because you want to punish yourself.
Oh.
You want to beat up on yourself. That's why. The bottom line is self-punishment versus self-love. And you choose self-punishment. Maybe you grew up in a family environment where you were constantly criticized. Or you grew up in an environment that you saw one parent leave you behind, like a mother or a father. Or you grew up in a family where you felt you didn't belong there. So you have all those feelings, disjointed feelings that are giving you support in not loving self. And some people learn to not love themselves in the womb. Maybe mama got pregnant and didn't want you, but went ahead and had you anyway. And it wasn't so much that mama went ahead and had you anyway as you were not going to terminate yourself. So therefore, you stayed here. And that's why mama kept you. But she let you know somewhere down the road she didn't want you.
Mm.
So therefore, you start feeling unwanted. You start feeling abandoned. You're dealing with those tributaries of fear. Do you get it? You see, fear is the base. Things like that all go down to the fear. Fear is the root. Everything else is the branches of the root.
And when we realize that we have a pretty good fear foundation, what are the tools we can use? Gretta shared with us, displace, replace. But when you actually consciously say, I want to crack my fear foundation, what's the first thing? I mean, what is the first tool we can pick up to start getting that, creating new realities with a foundation of unconditional love?
This is one thing we did with Gretta. Gretta used to always go down there saying, oh, will I make it? Especially when she was a single parent and had her child. Sometimes she'd sit and go, how am I going to make it? So, through our suggestion, she would stand in the mirror in the morning and say, I love myself. We start telling her, love yourself, Gretta. Love yourself, Gretta. Love yourself. So she started standing in the mirror and saying, I love myself. But you know what else what else she used to do? She used to wrap her arms around herself and hug herself. And say, it used to tickle us when we watch her do that. She would hug herself and say, I loves you, baby. That's what she used to say. I
Whatever
loves you, baby. Looking at herself. And we used to say, go ahead, Greta. Go ahead. Love yourself. You don't need anybody else to love you. That's what she had to learn. The top priority is for you to love you. Don't worry about nobody else loving you.
That's
Because
what
they
we
can't love you
expect.
anyway if you don't love yourself.
And that's the funny thing, that when you do start to love yourself, that's that elusive love that you're trying to solicit from others will just come,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. Through,
Hmm.
remember, we've been talking about on this podcast, create, support, create. You love
Yes.
yourself. People must support you in that. That is how everything works. And no, we are saying everything works that way. We don't care what universe you come from. We don't care what planet you're on. That's irrelevant.
And once again, we have received powerful messages, guidance, knowing from the realm of beings. Thank you, listeners, for joining us on this podcast. And we wish that you join us again next week. So until we create each other again, be well. Thank you for listening to Shifting Impressions.
Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on TransformationTalkRadio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with Leigh, Yvonne, the Realm, and me, Gretta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multidimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at TransformationTalkRadio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.